This podcast is part of Mishmash Media. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Welcome to another episode of Curbcast. My name is Ivan.
And I'm Stephen.
And we are up to episode 4 of season 7 of Curb Your Enthusiasm, The Hot Towel. And Curbcast is a podcast where myself and my buddy Stephen review an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm in chronological order, scene by scene. And we give our takes on certain things that happen in the episode as well. Maybe like our kind of real life scenarios, or maybe our real world opinions, kind of like our man LD.
Yeah, for sure. We don't get as pedantic as LD, but we certainly comment on his weird world for sure.
We sure do. And really enjoyed this episode, Steve. And I love how the hot towel is just like one thing that happens in the first scene. And it's basically, it's like the butterfly before the hurricane, isn't it? The butterfly flaps its wings. The hot towel like flapped its sides. Whatever you call it, when it landed in Larry's hand and it caused a ripple effect.
Yeah, definitely. No tsunami in Japan, or is it a typhoon in Japan? Whatever the butterfly effect outcome is. But very consequential from one little towel for sure.
If I ever go to a fancy party and I see all that caviar, I'm never going to fill up my biscuit with that much caviar. That's too much.
I think so. I've had proper caviar before. I've worked in seafood on and off for years and years and years. And, I've been lucky enough to try the legit duck's nut stuff from the Caspian Sea, the beluga caviar. And look, it's very delicious. It's very creamy, very delicate. I understand why it's such a highly desired and extremely expensive food, but it's something that's enjoyed in small amounts. It's kind of like truffles. Like if you eat a lot of it, it does lose that, that special aspect that makes it such a treat. So, and I mean, Christian Slater, even though when this episode aired in 2009, he wasn't like riding high in his career, as I guess he was in a bit of a career lull, but I'm sure he could afford some caviar. It's not like he was, down and out and living on his friend's couch or something, and he was just trying to, eat to survive. I'm sure he was still doing pretty fine. So I think he's just a bit of a caviar scab.
He was having a face-off with Larry.
Nice. Hang on, is Christian Slater in Face Off?
I'm pretty sure he is, yeah.
No, he's in Broken Arrow.
Is it Nicolas Cage? No, sorry, shit, wrong one.
You're thinking of Broken Arrow.
Broken Arrow, damn it. Well, that joke was a broken arrow, my friend, so there you go. Damn, I got them confused because I think they both have John Travolta, don't they?
Yeah, John Travolta plays the villain in Broken Arrow, and he plays the good guy, the FBI guy or whatever in Face Off.
Yeah, he's the linchpin across both movies. Yeah, that's why I got confused. I thought he was in Face Off.
And they came out around the same time as well. Like
they did.
Late 90s, 99, 2000, something like that.
Oh, probably something like that. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where I got it from.
Yeah, and they were both part of the renaissance that John Travolta experienced after Pulp Fiction.
That's right. Yeah, Saturday Night Fever. That was his big role, and then things went to shit in the 80s. Made some bad choices and in casting, and Pulp Fiction made him.
Yeah, he kind of had a mini career revamp with Look Who's Talking, but it was definitely Pulp Fiction that brought him back to the A-list.
That was the one that did it.
Yeah, and then for about 5 or 10 years, he was kind of in every movie. Every new movie would come out starring John Travolta.
That's probably why I got him mixed up, because he was in both of them.
Yeah, and they came out around the same time, and they're looking back, they're both pretty awful in a good way. They're good, bad action movies.
Good, bad, so bad they're good. That's where I got it confused.
Yeah, understandable.
Way it is.
If you want to email us, you can, curbcastpod@gmail.com, or on social media as well. You can check out those links in the show notes. If you want to support us, you can. We've got a Patreon, patreon.com/mishmash media, for as little as $1 a month. You can help us out, help keep the lights on over at Mishmash Media, which is the name of our current fledgling podcast network, and you do get access to Curbcast a few days early before it does get published every Friday to our normal feed. And finally, if you don't want to give us your cold hard cash, but you still want to support us, you can rate us or review us on your podcast app of choice, or just spread the word.
Yeah, anything you can do to help us out and spread the love.
That's right.
Anyway, The Hot Towel, Season 7, Episode 4 of Curb. I enjoyed this one, like I keep saying. Great episode. Aired in the US on October 11th, 2009 on HBO for the first time. A series of bizarre events lead Larry to get his doctor's personal phone number, but how much will Larry's doctor regret it? And this is the second appearance of the late Philip Baker Hall. You might know him as Bookman from Seinfeld in that wonderful episode, The Library from Seinfeld. And this is his second appearance on the show as Dr. Morrison. He was also in Mel's Offer. That was the season 4 premiere episode.
Yeah, I remember that. Great character.
Yeah. Phil Baker Hall, he only passed away, I think, a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it wasn't long ago, for sure. I remember I think it was May or June, because it was a massive, going back to our previous podcast, Bidwabask, our Seinfeld podcast. Out of that, Ivan and I created a Facebook group called Seinfeldisms, and that's still going strong. And, whenever someone passes away or whenever there's some eventful Seinfeld-related happening, whether it's a passing or a birthday or, someone's in a show, whatever, there's usually hundreds of posts on the day that it happened. And I remember the posting on the day when Philip Baker Hall passed away was the group was inundated, so...
It was immense.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of respect. A lot of people, he was only in the one episode. He was only in, 3 scenes, maybe 4 scenes. But it was just such a massive, massive role. And, people still love it. So it was awesome to see such a small amount of screen time and such a, one-off character make such an impact.
Yeah, one of the more memorable one-off characters on Seinfeld, for sure.
Definitely.
Everyone returned their overdue copies of Tropic of Cancer in his honour.
I think so, yeah. They didn't want to get on the bad side of, Lieutenant Bookman.
That's right. But yeah, his second appearance, I don't know if he returns for other episodes. We're watching these episodes for the first time, and we don't really have an idea, what happens to Philip Baker Hall later on in the season. So for those Curb veterans probably screaming at us, saying he's in these episodes, we don't know. But we'll figure it out as we go along.
Yeah.
Here we go. Scene 1. Larry is on a flight next to someone who is wearing shorts. And of course, Larry is in first class, as he normally is. He tells the guy not to wear shorts on a first class flight. The man complains about Larry's issue, and he calls Larry uptight. Larry disagrees with him. He asks if a woman wore a skirt, would he complain? This is what the man says to Larry. And Larry says, only if their legs were hairy. So yeah, it's kind of like, oh, no, for you it's no good, but for a beautiful woman with nice legs, oh, that's totally fine, totally fine. What a hypocrite. A stewardess goes to Larry, hands him a very hot towel, and it burns his hand. So yeah, Larry, we keep saying that Larry, he's a very underrated physical comedian. Like, I love when he gets the hot towel in his left hand, and then he just like juggles it a little bit. He's like, ow, 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 ow.
Yeah, very slapsticky.
Very slapsticky, yeah, it's awesome. And yeah, this one starts everything off.
Yeah, usually the title of the episode, whatever it refers to in the episode, is a bit more prominent in the episode. This is the only appearance or mention or any reference to a hot towel, but even though it's only in one scene for a small amount of time, it is very consequential.
Yeah, I thought this episode would have been like the doctor's phone number or, Christian Slater's caviar obsession or something.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Usually it's something that occurs in the episode, a couple of times, and it's a reoccurring prop or storyline or whatever circumstance. But I guess because it is so consequential, that's that's why it won the title of the episode.
And it makes sense too. It's the little thing that started everything. So
exactly.
Imagine what would have happened sliding doors if Larry wasn't on that flight or he said no to a hot towel. None of this shit would have happened.
I often wonder, what if Larry actually handled any situation in any episode, the opposite of how he does, and it always makes me think of how things would work out differently. But then we wouldn't have Curb, if he just treated people nicely and wasn't a piece of shit most of the time. He would just be a nice normal person with a functional social and family life, and we wouldn't have a show. So we don't want that, but it's interesting to think about.
It is. Yeah, it's very, very sliding doors, isn't it? Sliding doors.
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
Larry is at Dr. Morrison's room getting his hand bandaged. This is the second time he's visiting Dr. Morrison for an appointment. He asks if Dr. Morrison will testify for him in court on behalf of the aeroplane because of the hot towel, and Dr. Morrison says no. Larry is praising the opera music that was playing in the waiting room while he was in there. Dr. Morrison said that he was inspired by an Italian restaurant that opened up recently called Matteo's, who have live opera singers. And Larry says that he has a friend's anniversary coming up, and he will get a gift certificate for the anniversary for the restaurant for the couple, Ted and Mary. And Dr. Morrison recommends the food, and he says, it's highly recommended, Matteo's.
I thought it was very surprising that Larry thought that he would get such a nice gift for his friends. It's usually, like they say a bit later on, and you'll get to it, I guess, when they do get the gift. They say, what was the last gift we got? The Freak book.
From last season, yeah.
Exactly,
and I mean, seasons ago, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a funny gift, but it's not a thoughtful gift. It's not very personal or special. It's just more of a gift to himself, really, and to Jeff and John McEnroe. But, we do say from time to time, every so often, Larry can be nice, or he can be charming, or he can just be, he can sort of be really impressive just as a person. And I think this is one of those moments where he's just out of the blue thoughtful.
Yeah, out of the blue thoughtful. Well, we find out he's got a motive or a reason to give Ted and Mary the voucher.
That's
we find out that he didn't get invited.
Yeah, that's true.
He does. And Mary calls him out on it.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that actually.
That's
Yeah.
all right. But in the context of this scene, when we don't realize, you're right. In this moment, because usually Larry has some kind of motive or reason to do something. He's sociopathic in that way. But in this situation, you think, actually, that's a good point, because him and Ted are more like frenemies, aren't they? So
and I feel like their animosity has only grown over the last few seasons. Like they seem to have less positive experiences. In season 1 and 2 and 3, even though there was tension, it was still, I would argue, it was still mostly good, whereas I think it's shifted, especially after Cheryl leaving. I've made this comment probably every week that Larry's just become more bitter, gives less of a shit. He's just become more of an asshole. And I think that's affected all of his relationships, including with Ted.
Starting to, fall apart a little bit.
Yeah. He just seems to, be more and more bitter and more assholish, to everyone in his life, even friends who've stuck by him through some pretty rough times. He's sort of just pushing them away more and more.
Yeah, he's kind of lashing out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, and they can only tolerate so much. But yeah, before you realize that he's got an agenda, it was a surprisingly thoughtful, like, oh, okay, maybe he's realizing that he's pushing his friends away, that he's trying to repair it, that, this friendships will get him back in a good place. But yeah, not the case.
Well, maybe he realizes the freak book kind of tipped Ted and Mary over the edge for a little bit, and maybe Larry's like, instead of that freak book, which I found joy in, as well as Jeff and John McEnroe, maybe I'll get them a gift that they might actually enjoy.
Yeah.
They kind of overcompensate. Larry is walking out before turning around to ask for Dr. Morrison's home phone number in case of an emergency. Dr. Morrison refuses to give this. He tells Larry just to call the service and they'll patch him through to Dr. Morrison, but Larry says he feels better to have his number in case of an emergency. They keep having a back and forth until Dr. Morrison says he'll get this arranged just to get Larry out of the room and to get along with his day. I love how Dr. Morrison just kind of keeps that professionalism where, Larry's like pestering him for the phone number, and then Dr. Morrison like goes against, his rules, and he's like, fine, I'll give you an exemption only if you let me continue on with my day. And he's like, he just says, give me the number from the receptionist.
Yeah, he's very, he's a stickler for process. He's like, no, this is the way it's done. And I admire the fact that even though Larry's just trying to wear him down and trying to, weasel his way into getting his way, until the very end, the doctor, he's quite firm. He doesn't get aggravated or annoyed. He just sticks to, he's like, no, this is the way it's done. This is the way it's done. This is the way it's done.
Rules.
He just reiterates, this is the way it's done, basically. And, he does relent, but not because he's irritated with Larry. It's, because he's a doctor first, and he probably has other patients to say, and he thinks, well, I can't continue this conversation. I'll make this exception just for now. I like how he's just a stickler for the rules, and he doesn't lose his cool. He's just, he's a cool. I mean, he does a bit later, but at least at the clinic, he's keeping it under wraps.
Well, Philip Baker Hall has a tendency to play characters who stick to the rules, just like Bookman.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
By the book, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has that kind of, I don't know, he's able to pull it off quite well.
He's just got like a no nonsense. He's not like a mean dude. He's just like no nonsense, straight down the line dude, doesn't mess around, just this is the way it is, and that's the way it is, and that's it.
And that's it. And then, he just to get Larry out of the room, he says that he'll give him get the number from the receptionist, and he says to quietly get the number from the receptionist and to not call his home ever. So he puts that warning firmly in place.
Yeah, and I don't think he expects that Larry will.
Oh, and we find out, well, supposedly by accident that Larry calls him. Well, he actually does, yeah.
You know what? I was just thinking, I'd love to get your home phone number, just in case of an emergency, something happens with the hand, who knows, something comes up. It's nice to have.
I don't give out my home phone number.
And I understand all that, but I would feel better. It would make me feel more secure. Nothing's going to happen. I'm never going to call. What are the odds of something happening? 0.
Well, if anything happened, you can always call the service, and they'll contact me.
Yeah, then I have to deal with a middleman, sort of, and maybe the service isn't there. Why does he have the privilege of talking to you and not me? I'm your patient.
Larry's in the car park getting to his vehicle. He spots a lady named Mary Jane, who he hasn't seen for many years, as they greet each other. It's revealed that Larry and Mary Jane once dated many years ago. Larry makes a joke about going to the doctor, and he asks if Mary Jane is married, and she says no. Larry asks her if she regrets dating him. Mary Jane asks if Larry wants to go to dinner with her to catch up, and Larry says he's going to Ted Danson's bash. She says that her friend Christian Slater will be there. They agree to dinner for the following evening, as Larry says he still has her number, and they say goodbye. So we find out Larry kind of punched above his weight a little bit there.
Yeah, he did. And she's pretty hot, so
yeah, and she's much younger than Larry, probably by at least 20 years.
Yeah, well, Cheryl's a knockout, and she's young, and she's like smart and attractive and kind, and she stuck with him for 10, 11, 12 years? Probably about 11 or 12 years, because they celebrate their 10th anniversary in season 5, and then I guess it's another year or two before she leaves. And even after Cheryl leaves, he dates Lucy Lawless. And, he does pretty well with the women, even though he's not, the best looking dude and he is a bit older. He does have like a charm, he's witty, he's funny, he's good with the banter, he knows how to flirt really well. So I can understand why he attracts the younger hotties.
Yeah, that was in season 4, their 10th anniversary.
Season 4, yes, it was.
Season 4, yes. Yeah, no, that's okay. We've watched so many episodes, they kind of almost blend into each other.
Yeah, they do blur a bit.
No, but definitely. But Mary Jane, we find out a bit later that she has a bit of a secret.
Yes.
She's in a relationship. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
Oops. And this guy's pretty tough. As we find out later on. Everyone is having fun at Ted's party. Larry greets Jeff. He asks Jeff if he remembers Mary Jane, and Jeff says, yeah, she's one of my favorites. So it's like Jeff has like a ranking system for all of Larry's ex-girlfriends. I'd imagine Cheryl would be probably pretty high up on the list too.
Oh, I mean, definitely. I mean, he's, admitted straight up that she's in his spank bank. So yeah, definitely. I think as well, even if, she's been around the longest, so there's more of a chance for her to become more attractive to Jeff because, he's getting to know her and he sees her more. And I think, I don't know. Yeah, I think Cheryl would be number one.
I would in his books. Yeah. But he certainly remembers Mary Jane.
Yeah, he does. He seems, if he's got them ranked, I guess he remembers all of them. They're probably all in his spank bank.
Oh no. Maybe. Maybe. Oh, that's Jeff for you. Jeff asks why Mary Jane went out with Larry as she is way out of his league. And Larry claims that's why she broke up with him because Larry was, she was too far out of Larry's league. That's why they broke up. And Jeff says that she may be desperate now and that's probably why she asked Larry out for dinner. Larry says because of his burnt hand, his left hand, he can't unhook bras with his right hand, as he calls himself a left-handed hooker. Jeff asks about the Meg Ryan situation in terms of the Seinfeld reunion. Larry says he'll try to convince Jerry to hire Cheryl instead. One interesting thing that we mentioned right at the end of last week's episode, Steve, that this episode and then the next episode coming up, Denise Handicap, they don't really drive the Seinfeld reunion plot forward too much, which I found interesting.
Yeah, I think I mentioned last week, where there was a lot of Seinfeld and the previous 2 episodes really, that when it comes to their season long or main storyline, I've noticed that they don't just sort of do a bit every episode. They either do an episode with most of it dedicated to that storyline or almost nothing at all. So I think that's just this case where episode 1 made I think 1 reference to Seinfeld. Episode 2 and 3 of this season were pretty heavy Seinfeld, and episode 4 and 5, 4 we're doing now and 5 next week, I don't think there's any reference to Seinfeld at all except this scene that you just mentioned. So I think it's just like hot and cold, it's either Seinfeld or not Seinfeld. It's not just, casually mentioned in every episode. Yeah,
I thought it would kind of be like talked about in passing. I mean, maybe there was like a, scheduling conflict with the other guys, the other Seinfeld crew or something, and they can't commit to a whole season. It could be something like that maybe.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, no, I just find it interesting because this is probably the only season that we've watched so far that I can think of where there's been such a break from the main plot. Usually, maybe like when they did The Producers, there was probably like 1 episode that kind of did it, but then it kind of rolled on again. And, with Larry as well in season 5, there was the theme of the adoption, which kind of reverberated through each episode. But no, I find it interesting how they kind of like even episodes 1 and 2 don't have any Seinfeld reunion stuff. So far it's only been like episode 3.
It's just episode 3, yeah.
It's just interesting. Yeah. It's just like the only one that's really like focused on it, yeah.
Maybe they thought that, if they lean too far into, or not lean too far into it, but if they had too much Seinfeld content, it would be a bit of a gimmick. Even though the Seinfeld reunion is the main storyline for the season, maybe they thought we'll do less of it, we'll show less of it. So it's, Larry says, a reunion is lame. Maybe they thought it would be 2 reunion-y if they appeared in every single episode of the season. It's just, you know what I mean? Like it, to distract from what. So it's just part of Curb. It doesn't take over the whole season. I don't know. Maybe that was an intentional choice to just have less is more.
Less is more. It's probably actually now you mentioned it's probably a good thing too, because otherwise it would have been just to like imagine like seeing 10 episodes of people rehearsing.
Yeah. I mean, because I would suspect that most Seinfeld fans would not want to see proper reunion, because I think everyone would agree that it just wouldn't be. Maybe everyone would be curious, but I think when it really comes down to it, most people would opt not for that to be a thing. So maybe with that in mind, when Larry, when they were coming up with the season and writing it, they thought, well, let's include Seinfeld, but not do too much of it so that it doesn't leave a bad taste and it doesn't seem like a cash in or a tacky kind of reunion. It's just, it's just less is more. I would suspect that that's what they're going for.
That's what they went for, yeah. Probably that combined with also, like I said, probably the others probably had other stuff to do. So even then, they probably still wouldn't commit. But I agree with you. Yeah, I think less is more in this case.
Yeah, for sure.
Because with the other storylines, they didn't have to like for previous seasons, they didn't really have to rely on other characters. They could just kind of carry on just with Larry. But yeah, this one you kind of need the other four to kind of be part of it, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, Jeff asks about the Meg Ryan situation in terms of her playing George's ex-wife in the reunion, but Larry says that he'll talk to Jerry to try and get Cheryl hired instead. That was his main intention. Larry greets Ted and Mary. He hands them a $300 gift voucher to Mateo's. They can't believe he paid that much for it, and Ted and Mary are very thankful, and Ted says this is a wonderful gift from Larry, as the last gift was the Freak book, like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
They thank him anyway. Ted and Mary say it's a great gift when Larry asks if it's the best one they got tonight, and Ted and Mary walk off as Larry goes up to talk to Christian Slater, who's at the food platter. He tells Christian that he ran into Mary Jane, his friend, and Larry looks and comments on Christian loading up his crackers with too much caviar. Larry pulls him up on it. He reminds Christian of unwritten laws in society. It's like, you tell someone tells you have cancer, you got to go like, oh.
Yeah.
You got to kind of like say, oh, it's an unwritten law.
Yeah, one of Larry's many, many rules. But look, I think that this rule is not, a lot of Larry's rules are very Larry specific. Most people, would either be confused by them or just straight up disagree with many of Larry's rules or our ideas of how people should conduct themselves. But I think not being a caviar hog or a dip hog or whatever's going on your cracker hog is, I think most people would agree that there is a limit. And caviar especially, it's not it's not like, I don't know, it's not like salsa or hummus where you can just have lots and lots and lots of it and it doesn't cost a lot. And, caviar, again, is supposed to be eaten, in small amounts and enjoyed, not just shoveled down like Christian Slater is doing.
Well, how you said that, like at the start of the episode, that Christian Slater's probably at the point where he can afford his own caviar.
Yeah.
Maybe in this universe, maybe he's like in between like big gigs and he can't afford it. So he like eats the caviar.
Maybe he blew all his money or something and he's just, he's been living the high life. But he's, he hasn't landed a big high-paying role, but he's still got a high-paying lifestyle.
All of his Broken Arrow money just went to shit.
Yeah, exactly. All of his Broken Arrow cash. He ran out of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves money.
Oh, yeah. Was he in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves as well?
Yeah, he played Will Scarlet.
Oh, sweet. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Robin's younger brother, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and Robin was Kevin Costner, right?
Yes, exactly, yep.
That's right.
Yep. And you find out later on that he's Robin Hood's brother.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Will Hood.
I think it's Will Scarlet.
I watched Robin Hood Men in Tights the other day.
Oh,
Classic Mel Brooks film.
I fucking love that film.
Me too. I won't go too much into it, but there's this wonderful scene where Carrie Ells, he plays Robin Hood.
Yeah.
And then, ironically, Richard Lewis plays Prince John.
Yeah, he does actually.
With the one with the mole who changes, like goes to different parts of his face every scene. And I love when they say, like, what makes you, like, he says to, like, Robin Hood, like, what makes you different or something? And Robin Hood says, like, unlike other Robin Hoods, I'm the only one with an English accent.
I speak with a British accent.
I speak with a British accent, yeah. It's the kind of like take the piss out of like all the Americans and Australians who've played Robin Hood.
Yeah, and everyone there's low murmuring of shock, like, oh my god,
yeah. And then Prince of Thieves, like, doesn't Kevin Costner keep his American accent in there?
It's like this weird. It's not fully Americanized, but it's this weird mix between American, kind of British,
almost like transatlantic, right?
Oh no, it's not. You can't define it. It's not. It's just this weird blend of. It's a very unique accent. He tries to be a bit British, but it's very American. It's you can't I can't even describe it accurately, other than it's just somewhere between American and English, but not even anywhere close.
I love how it was like a subtle dig on that.
Yeah,
like
right.
if you're gonna have Robin Hood, hire British actors.
Exactly. Yeah, or if you're gonna hire American actors, make sure they. They're getting paid millions of bucks. Make sure they master the accent.
They can. Like Renee Zellweger in Bridget Jones's Diary, an American actress, and she killed the British accent. She fucking nailed it.
Yeah, I would say though that American actors, not many of them are very good at doing a good British accent.
No, not really.
But Brits are also doing an American accent, so I don't know. I think it's because a lot of British actors are trained in theatre. I don't know. I think they're better at the technical skills rather than the emotional skills.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. But no, it translates well. But the other way around, American to British, not so hard.
Yeah,
not so easy.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Oh god, we have to. Well, I'll have to like Google Christian Slater's like autobiography, like or not autobiography, his filmography. I know he was in Mr. Robot recently.
Yeah, no, he's had a pretty good career. He's been in a lot.
Yeah, he's done well. He just he just loads up on caviar.
Yeah.
I'd do the same thing too. Like if I went to a place and they had like caviar and all that fancy shit, I'd load up too, to be honest.
Yeah, but would you load up to the amount he is? That's my, if it's not something you're used to or you're really into it, like have a bit more than normal, but don't, like he's just over there just like hoovering it down.
That's why I think in this universe, he's kind of like in between big gigs. And maybe you're right. Maybe he's had like this lavish lifestyle and, he can't afford caviar.
Yeah, he wants to maintain it. So he just goes to parties and hoovers all their caviar down.
That's probably my guess. That's why he's at Ted Danson's party. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like fictional Christian Slater. I got no idea. I'm sure he's doing fine, but yeah.
Oh, I think he's doing more than fine.
More than
I
fine.
do, just on Men in Tights, one more thing. When I love the Sheriff of Rottingham.
Oh, Rottingham.
I love how
Rotty. Tracy Ullman plays the
Yeah.
So good.
That's Latrine. Interesting last name. Yeah, used to be Shithouse.
Used to be Shithouse.
Oh no, the Sheriff of Rottingham. I like how he's not dyslexic. What's the word? He jumbles up his words.
Yes.
Rides over. He's like, over that boy hand. Hand over.
Hand over that boy.
It's like, you'll pay for this.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, I'll pay for this. And then they smile and laugh and go, yep. And he's like, I mean, you'll pay for this.
I know, he's a bit of a dum-dum.
Yeah.
Great
Now
film.
I'm really pissed off. I'd be worried. Oh, that closest to a horse's wiener, I'd be worried about getting pissed off.
Ah, yeah, Chappelle. Funny, he was so young, Dave Chappelle, in that movie.
I
God.
think that was his first movie role as well.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, a Jew. I am a sneeze, father of a Jew.
Bless you.
Bless you. No. He's my son. He's in England.
Isaac Hayes.
Yeah.
He plays the dad, yeah, so good. But yes, Christian Slater, yeah, I'll have to try and go through his back catalogue because I can't think of any other films he's been in. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. Go on his Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Or maybe just watch Broken Arrow. I'm sure it's on Amazon Prime or something.
Yeah, I mean, nothing else
Usually those
counts.
movies are there. Yeah. Larry keeps ranting about unwritten laws. Christian adds even more caviar to his cracker, and he walks off in disgust. Mary asks Larry if he took lots of caviar, as the camera cuts to the caviar bowl and it's half full. Larry says that Christian did it, which disgusts Mary, as a toast by Susie is called. She says that Sammy will sing a special song for Ted and Mary, which makes them very happy. Larry asks why this is a gift. As Sammy begins singing I guess you could say a very average rendition of Can't Take My Eyes Off You by Frankie Valli, as Larry interrupts her. Susie gets angry at Larry for cutting her off. She walks off comforting Sammy, and Larry calls for a round of applause as the crowd look at him and they still clap. Yeah, that was, I don't know. Do you think maybe like Susie and Jeff tried getting out of getting Ted and Mary a gift and then they said, oh, Sammy, just try and sing a song? Or do you think Susie actually thinks that Sammy is a good singer but she's tone deaf?
Oh, I think that Susie thinks, she's one of those mothers that the kids can do no wrong. But I also think she's just trying to be supportive and a good mum. Like maybe Sammy has aspirations of being a singer, and Susie's just being a supportive mum, regardless of her actual talent or ability. She's just trying to encourage a kid and like give her an opportunity to do what she wants to do. Look, I think Susie's just being a good mum and being supportive of a kid. I don't think any good parent out there would go, well, you're not very good, so I'm not going to be encouraging. Only, if you're a good singer, maybe, but you're not very good, so stuff that. So yeah, I mean, and Larry, look, Ted and Mary, they've got everything they need. They don't need anything. I don't think that they would be bothered that Jeff and Susie are, getting them a gift that isn't, them actually buying something. I don't think they care.
No.
Even though they're rich and they've kind of got everything. They don't seem like very shallow people or people that would judge that. I think they're genuinely appreciative, and Ted says, that's really sweet, and I think he means it. He's a pretty sincere guy. He's pretty down to earth. He doesn't seem very shallow or I don't think he actually cares. I think he actually thinks it's a nice thing. And yeah, I think Susie's, just being a good mum by supporting her daughter, even though, she's not the best singer, but she's only, she's like 11 or 12 or something. Like,
I think she's like 10.
10
exactly. Or 11 maybe. Yeah, maybe in this season. Yeah. Yeah, because I think in the next episode, Susie says you let a 10-year-old drown, when Sammy nearly drowns on the beach.
Yeah. So look, I just think she's supporting her daughter and, being encouraging of her, and thinks it's a nice thing for Ted and Mary. And I think they think the same thing.
I think you're right. And I think Larry's just basically saying what some of the crowd are thinking. That's really all it is. He's not polite enough just to let it go.
No, I'm sure people in the crowd are like, ooh, that's a bit rough. But I don't think anyone other than Larry thinks that she should genuinely stop. You know, it's not so bad that, you know, it's making people cover their ears or, you know, peel back in disgust or anything like that. It's just
no, it's nothing like that. It's not that bad.
It's like very mildly cringy, but I think most people think, well, you know, she's a 10-year-old girl. She might be a bit nervous and, you know, like she's just having a go. I think most people would be okay, more than okay with it.
And I think maybe with a little bit of vocal training, she'd probably be all right.
Yeah.
You know, she's kind of got like the foundations.
Well, she's got the confidence to do it and the desire to do it. That's half the battle. You know, like how many gifted singers out there don't have the confidence to stand in front of people, and how many people with the confidence to stand in front of people are terrible.
Can't sing, yeah, exactly.
You need both. You need the skill and the confidence, and you know, got the confidence. So, yeah, I think she would only get better if she had some training.
Yeah, no. Well, Susie's definitely very supportive of Sammy.
Yeah,
in this case.
a lot of what Susie does, I don't really understand or agree with, but I think her just being a good mum and, you know, getting pretty upset with Larry is perfectly understandable.
Perfectly justifiable. Yeah. Larry and Christian are waiting outside for their cars. I think it was valet parking because you can see like a shot just behind Larry. There's like a shelf with car keys in them. So I assume maybe they've got like valet parking at Ted and Mary's house. I don't know. Is that a thing? You know, at a private residence to have a valet? Probably. I guess someone like Ted and Mary probably would.
Well, that's exactly my point. You know, if they can afford to have valet parking at, you know, just a get together or a party, I don't think they care whether Susie and Jeff got them a toaster or I don't know, whatever they were going to get them.
I just found it interesting how like they had a valet, like, and I'm thinking because they went to their house, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like if I was that rich that I had valet parking at a party and someone didn't get me an appliance or, you know, a dinner voucher or whatever, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, well, I've got more money than I'll ever know what to do with. It's fine.
Well, I know, but even going back to the last scene, even Susie says to Ted and Mary, she goes, "Oh, you've got everything you need," to Ted and Mary or something like that. So we weren't going to get you a toaster or a blender, but we got you something special.
Exactly.
So she reiterates your point. So Christian berates Larry for him telling Mary about his caviar issue. Christian denies he took too much and Larry disagrees with it. They glare at each other as they wait for their vehicles. The next day, Larry is walking down the street and a happy lady tells him to smile. He gets annoyed and yells at her to mind your own business and keep walking. He accidentally calls Dr. Morrison on his home phone thinking that it was Jeff. He tried calling Jeff and got Dr. Morrison. Dr. Morrison answers the phone. He asks Larry not to call him. Larry says he called by accident and his number was under his friend's. Dr. Morrison said he is working around the house and he had to take a call, and that is the longest wrong number he's ever experienced as they're on the phone for several minutes. So, what are you doing at home? Oh, you know, I'm changing the light bulbs, I'm changing my cat's litter box. You don't need to know what I'm doing at home. Dr. Morrison is like, my home is my sanctuary. You don't need to know what I'm doing.
Yeah, Larry could just simply say, oh, sorry, I've called the wrong number. I'm sorry to disturb you. Bye. That's it.
No. But I think he's more bemused probably in the fact that Dr. Morrison specifically said, do not call me. And then by some freakish accident, he called Dr. Morrison.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange coincidence that's worth commenting on once. Like, oh, I accidentally called you even after you said not to call you. I'm sorry about that. See you later. You know, comment on it once and that's it. And then
Larry's just very intrigued.
Leave the man in peace.
I think Larry's very intrigued. He's just like, can't believe it.
Yeah.
Larry says next time he'll call for an emergency as Dr. Morrison gets more annoyed and tells him to call the service. And Larry says he'll hang up and he still doesn't hang up. And Dr. Morrison says that he can hang up and they have a bit of a back and forth again. And Dr. Morrison eventually hangs up and Larry's very bemused as he hangs up the phone as well.
Yeah.
Larry is having dinner with Mary Jane at Mateo's and he says that he doesn't like the food. Mary Jane says that Larry doesn't like food. Like he's never liked food every time they've gone out. And Larry says that's because Mary Jane was the worst cook ever, kind of like half jokingly. That's why he didn't like food. And she says that he is a bad eater. Which I find very funny. Mary Jane spots Ted Danson a few tables down with Mary and the Greens, who are having dinner with them as well. Larry walks over to their table and they all say hello to Larry, and he says that he got the gift certificate and he asks why Ted and Mary chose the Greens over him. And Mary says, what would be the point in that? That'd be like giving a gift to yourself. You buy us a gift and you expect us to take you to redeem that gift. I mean, yeah, that's absolutely correct. Mary is very on the money here, so to speak.
I think so, yeah. I mean, if you give a restaurant voucher, it's, you know, once you give it over, it's really none of your business what they do with it. You're giving a gift. It's not gifts shouldn't be conditional.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be conditional. But why do you think the Greens were there for dinner? Do you think maybe Susie and Jeff were upset and Ted and Mary kind of felt bad about Larry's actions and then they said,
Yeah,
we can
I
have this
think
for dinner?
so. Yeah, I think that makes sense. They felt bad that their daughter was, embarrassed and shamed and shut down in front of the whole party. So, it's their, even though it was Larry's doing and they kind of like, it's not like they had words with Larry on the night. Yeah, they would still feel some responsibility and some obligation to try and make up for it because it was their party. I think they would ultimately feel responsible. So taking him out for dinner would be, a nice way to, to just right that wrong, I guess.
I know. And then Larry feels wronged. For not getting taken out. Larry disagrees with Mary's notion, and the others question Larry's thoughts about this. Ted says for Larry to never get them a gift again, as Larry mocks Sammy for the singing, and Susie says that it was mean to interrupt her, for trying her best. I love this part. Larry says that he just can't stand the human voice. I think it might have been like Jeff Garlin. I think it might have been during the improv of this scene. Jeff Garlin's like repeating back to Larry, "You can't stand the sound of the human voice." It's like Jeff can't believe what Larry just said. It almost sounds like Jeff Garlin said that, like not Jeff Green.
Yeah.
He probably didn't expect that line. He's like, what the fuck? You can't stand the human voice. The singing voice. It just doesn't. It's just like, just Jeff's reaction after he said it. It just got me. It just killed me every time I watched it.
Yeah.
He's very humoured by it. I love it. The opera singer appears and begins to sing. Susie looks at Larry, to try and say, oh, you think the human voice is, no good? Why don't you prove it to me? Larry interrupts the opera singer to show that it's not all about Sammy, and the opera singer and the pianist walk off, and Larry calls for a round of applause in the restaurant as the singer walks off, very dejected. So, I like how like Susie just glares at Larry to say, "Oh, are you sure it's just about Sammy? If it's not, you should, you should tell him to shut up because you don't like the sound of the human voice." And Larry interrupts. Actually, the opera singer, unlike Sammy, the opera singer is really good. He can hold a tune really nicely, and
he's fantastic.
He's fantastic. He's amazing. And Larry interrupts him just because of that. It's so funny.
Yeah, I was wondering why, I don't know, Larry was in the producers. It's not like he's got this weird thing against singing. I think it's just maybe because he's so depressed and so bitter lately. Singing is usually seen as like an expression of joy and positivity. Maybe just the idea of, I've talked on and off about my mental health struggles, a long time ago. And when I was at my worst, one thing that was very irritating to me was seeing people happy, even if they had every right to be happy and it wasn't affecting me. Right. I think because I felt so bad, you want other people to feel bad. So maybe, maybe I'm reading too much into it and Larry's just being a jerk, but he was in a Broadway play that's, singing and dancing, and he sung and he danced and he killed it. He loved it, and there's been plenty of other times like the karaoke. I can't remember, but there's a karaoke episode, I don't know, maybe just singing, being an expression of joy lately is just extra irritating to him because he's just so unhappy and bitter and, just not in a good spot.
I think you're right, because we have seen also Larry sing outside of stage as well. I think we've heard him sing a couple of times so far in the series. So I think you're right. I think it's just like a whole bunch of mixed emotions. He misses Cheryl. He's depressed. He's not getting as much intimacy as he normally gets. There's all these things that are happening to him, and it's kind of manifesting, and it's affecting his relationships with his friends as well.
For sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like even with the Greens, him and Jeff are so tight and close, and anything can happen and Jeff will still be Larry's friend. I feel like Jeff is more like amused by Larry more than anything. And even that's kind of straining a little bit after their daughter got embarrassed. So Larry, you're right. Larry's just pushing people away from him. And so that's probably why he was pissed off at Sammy and then the opera singer.
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Larry.
I'm Larry Boy.
Hi, Blair.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Are you having a nice time?
Great food.
Yes,
So
really.
much.
Thank you, buddy.
I find it a little odd, frankly, that I got you this $300 gift certificate to the restaurant, and you chose to take them and not me?
But if we took you, wouldn't that be you giving a gift to yourself?
Larry is back at Mary Jane's apartment and they're making out on the couch. He's trying to unhook her bra with his right hand. He asks if they can switch sides. He tries unhooking the bra with his burnt hand, his left hand, with no luck, and he rips off the bandage and throws it into the trash can. Mary Jane has some homemade pie. She starts eating some and she asks if Larry wants a bite. Larry keeps saying no, but then eventually says okay as the phone rings. Mary Jane says that it is her boyfriend who's ringing. She pretends that Larry Larry isn't there. And the boyfriend says that he is coming over. Mary Jane asks Larry to leave right away. And Larry's like, you've got a boyfriend? What are you talking about? And I like how there's some noise in the background. And she goes, oh, no, that's nothing. I'm just watching the Discovery Channel. It's like, some noise on TV or something. Just trying to like cover for him. Like we find out later that Mary Jane, like we'll talk about it when the time comes, but apparently things got very heated between her and her boyfriend. He sounds like a bit of an asshole, like almost like a domestic, like an abuser.
Yeah, I mean, when she says that he got it out of her, it's like, what does that mean? Like,
I know, right? I was just like, ooh, he left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth, actually.
I think so, yeah. And like, I mean,
like he's an emotional abuser or something.
Like like if I had, I mean, she's wrong for cheating on him, for dating Larry. But like if I had that secret to protect, it would take a lot for that to be, it would take a lot for me to be convinced to come clean.
Yeah.
And, that might be like a threat. Like if someone was just asking me repetitively, I wouldn't be in a situation where I'd need to hold that secret. But yeah, it would take a threat or some sort of manipulation or abuse or something for me to spill that secret. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
I don't think it would just be, hey, is there something you want to tell me? And me go, oh, yeah, okay, I'll tell you. It would require something a bit more serious. So I think you're right. Like, I don't think he just came home and asked her, in a calm, reasonable way, and she just confessed out of guilt. I think, he I don't want to say he threatened her, but there's something like dodgy there or something dark.
He stood over her somehow.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I don't know. Just like at first you like, she's saying, oh, my boyfriend's coming home, whatever, or he's coming over. Larry leaves, but you think, oh, yeah, maybe, even though it's the wrong thing she's doing, but but I don't know, just like the next scene when she's in it, I'm just like, oh, God, he's a bit of a bad dude. I don't know. Yeah. Just kind of rubbing me the wrong way a little bit.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that's a future scene. She says that her boyfriend's coming over and that Larry can't be here. She says that Larry, that he could probably kill Larry, and Larry's like, kill me? What are you talking about? So yeah, it's it shows that he's a very aggressive dude, the boyfriend. That's probably my assumption. Larry is back at Dr. Morrison's clinic the next day. He's complaining about Mateo's food, especially the ossobuco that he ate. He commented with Mary Jane that he didn't like the ossobuco. And Dr. Morrison says, I love the ossobuco. It tastes really good. Larry apologizes for the call, and Dr. Morrison reiterates to Larry to never call his home phone again. Larry says that his receptionist told him what his house looks like, and it's only a few houses down from his. And it's in his neighborhood. It's the one with the trestles? The arbor. Oh, the arbor. Yeah. And you're in my neighborhood, you're just down the street.
Yeah, bit creepy.
He just got everything out of the receptionist. And Dr. Morrison gets really worried. Like, you can see like the panic kind of set in on his face. He's trying to keep that professional facade. And then he kind of he's like, shit, this psycho guy knows where I live now. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I think he thinks he overstepped a boundary by calling him, or just by having his home number in the first place. Now he knows where he lives. I can understand why he'd be a bit concerned.
Yeah, I understand. Dr. Morrison says that Larry's burnt hand should stay uncovered as per his recommendation. Larry says because Dr. Morrison recommended Mateo's, which he didn't like, he can't listen to his medical advice. He decides to keep the hand covered, and Dr. Morrison applies another bandage to the hand. And again, another ripple effect, leaving the hand on the bandage on Larry's hand will cost him later in the episode. I just love how, like, even though, Dr. Morrison, sure, he might not have the best taste in like Italian food or whatever, but his bread and butter, so to speak, is medicine. And, like general practice medicine. So I'd take his advice.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, I've been recommended a place to eat as like really great, and I've gone there and, it's been okay, or maybe not that great.
Me too.
But like, sometimes a restaurant, even if they're really good, can have an off night. Sometimes it's just, taste is subjective. What one person enjoys, I might not, and vice versa. But medical advice is pretty, like, if you take a pill or take a treatment, the next day and the day after that and the day after that, it's going to be the same treatment. It's not a subjective experience. Does that make sense?
It does. But I just find it funny that, like, Dr. Morrison, he studied his whole life to be in medicine, and obviously he's the expert in that. You can't deny that. And I love in the fact that Larry says, like, because you recommended, Italian food that you might have liked, but I don't. I can't take your advice.
Yeah,
it's like what Dr. Morrison studied literally his whole adult life to do. You won't listen to him.
Yeah, and I mean, medical, medical procedure is generally like standardized and universalized for a reason, because it's proven to work. Whereas ossobuco or Italian food or whatever, it might be the same food every night, but like treatment for a burn is going to work on everyone the same. If all those same people went to eat the same food at the same restaurant, a lot of them aren't going to like it, and a lot of people are. It's not medical. Medical practice is not subjective.
No,
It's objective. Whereas whether you like food or not at a certain restaurant is subjective. So the fact that Larry compares the two or uses his his unhappy restaurant experience as a reason to distrust his medical advice is just, it's just completely off the bloody reservation.
It's just the height of arrogance, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
almost
it is.
like,
well, I didn't like the restaurant you recommended me, so therefore you're a bad doctor.
yeah,
It's like
and
that,
yeah.
There's no link between the two.
And yeah, exactly. And I can't trust you for the thing that you're actually an expert in.
Yeah, and it's not like he's recommending him like some complex medical procedure that's, got a risk factor. It's just a bandage or not. Like, it's a very simple medical procedure. It's not, what
Not
I mean?
even
Like,
a medical procedure. It's just like,
not just a solution.
yeah, kind of like a solution, like a topical like solution, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So the fact that he distrusts like such a simple, medical situation is just, I think he just doesn't like the fact that, Larry holds grudges for stupid reasons. And I guess he holds a grudge or is resentful for the fact that he wasted his time and his money at a restaurant he didn't like.
And had he have taken Dr. Morrison's advice, Larry wouldn't have experienced what he does in the final scene.
Exactly.
Larry is in his home gym exercising. Mary Jane calls and says that her boyfriend saw Larry's bandage in her trash can, and she says that during like a heated argument, and he was very like standoverish and stuff. She says that she gave him Larry's phone number and address in a state of panic. Larry asks why she did this, but she said that everything was just kind of like tense, and he kind of got it out of me, which kind of made me feel a bit uncomfortable in that scene. She says that the boyfriend is on the way to Larry's house. He sees a car turn up outside the window. He runs out of the house and he runs to Dr. Morrison's residence. He knocks on the door. Dr. Morrison answers. Larry says that someone is coming after him and he needs a place to stay for the night. Larry asks if he can stay. Dr. Morrison gets angry for interrupting a quiet night with his wife, who's in the lounge room. He says Larry is not welcome and tells him to go home. Larry says that he'll even like sit on the step all night, like he'll go in the guest room and you won't even know I'm there. And Dr. Morrison says no. So yeah, it's kind of culminated in, Larry asked for Dr. Morrison's phone number, and then from Dr. Morrison's perspective, Larry calls him, and then Larry finds out where he lives, so Larry goes to his house. It's kind of creepy. I could see why Dr. Morrison's very very standoffish. I can see.
Yeah, because he keeps laying down the boundaries, like saying, I don't want you to do this, and then he does it, and then he's like, and Larry just gets more and more and more in his shit, so
he's like, Dr. Morrison's like, my family's here, you can't be here. Yeah, you sit on the step, my family's here.
Yeah.
And I like how Larry tries turning to Mrs. Morrison to get her, permission. And then
outside,
and then Dr. Morrison just stands in front of her and says, don't you bring Mrs. Morrison into this.
Don't get her involved, yeah.
He's like, what are you wearing? Because Larry's wearing, like, sports shorts.
So weird.
Oh, we don't often see Larry's legs. They're very, very, like, spangly kind of like long legs.
Yeah, very like proper pins.
Yes, they're almost like chicken legs, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mr. Morrison just comments on his shorts. I love it. Like, what are you wearing?
Yeah.
Larry's like, I've just done exercise. I was at my gym. Larry runs down the street. He knocks on Ted Danson's door and he tells him what's happening. Ted asks what's he's wearing, and Larry says that he just went to the gym. Ted says that he's disappointed in him as the opera singer from Mateo's. He found out that the opera singer lost confidence and he won't sing anymore thanks to Larry's shenanigans. Larry says he'll talk to the singer, and he gets mad at Ted for taking the Greens out to dinner instead of him. Ted throws him $300 and tells him to go buy some fucking pants as he shuts the door.
That's a good shutdown.
It's like, take this and buy some fucking pants, will you? Just slams the door in his face.
I did laugh at that.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, no, loved it. Larry runs to Jeff's house and Larry tells him what happened, and Susie goes to the front door and Susie reluctantly lets him stay in the guest room. The next morning, Larry wakes up and he hears Sammy singing in the other room. He tells her aggressively to shut the fuck up. He's like, shut up, shut the fuck up. Sammy starts crying and Susie says, what's wrong? And Sammy says, I was singing and Larry told me to shut the fuck up. And Susie goes, he did what?
She loses
and then a
it.
second later, she walks in, grabs Larry and tells him to leave. You're squashing the spirit of a 10-year-old girl. I love how she goes on these, like, she kind of catastrophizes everything. It's like, you know, you told like a 10-year-old, which is mean, like you told a 10-year-old girl to shut the fuck up from singing. But to Susie, it's like she catastrophizes. She's like, you've crushed her spirit, you know? It's like, nah, sure, like the kid will get upset, but, you know, she'll carry on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world. She'll be okay.
It's like Larry is just the devil incarnate, you know? Like everything he does is just like extreme, with extreme consequences. Larry is at Mateo's and he apologizes to the opera singer for what happened. He forgives Larry and goes to sing. He spots Mary Jane at a table. She says that she is meeting Christian Slater and his girlfriend, who are coming, and her boyfriend is in the bathroom. Larry walks off. He walks into a man by mistake. The man asks if he is Larry David as he points to his bandage. Larry says no, and he runs off as the man chases him. The opera is continuing. Larry is at the front of the restaurant as Christian observes him. He's just parking his car. Larry hides behind a dumpster, or to the side of a dumpster. In the back alley. The man can't find him, and Christian says, "You're not looking for a Larry David by any chance, are you?" And the man says, "Yes, I am." And Christian points to where Larry is as the opera is still going on. Larry spots a shadow going up to him at the climax of the opera tune and looks on in surprise as the opera ends. And it's implied that the man beat up Larry. And that's the end of the episode.
Yep, that's it.
That's it, yeah. So, very violent man, and he got to Larry as well. I love how it's in tune, in time with the opera, like the song as well. And then, like, right at the end, it just, like, you know, climaxes. It's like, doo-doo. Perfect. Really love this episode, man. 4 Larrys out of 5 for me for the hot towel. What about yourself?
Yeah, I give it 4 out of 5 as well. I really liked it. Not an all-timer, but yeah, a strong episode. Lots of funny bits. Larry, I think, is extra mean this episode. I think he's just continuing his extra mean streak by shitting on kids, staying at their house and just telling her to shut the fuck up. Although I do agree with you that, Susie's catastrophizing a bit. Larry has no right to, shit on a 10-year-old girl for just, having a bit of a sing in her own house or, at a party. Yeah, and really, really funny.
Yeah, really funny. Actually, you made a good point about Larry probably being depressed and stuff. I think we really see his depression really getting worse in this episode. Like, you made a great point saying that he's dragging, his friends are disappearing, like his friends are like moving further away from him, and he's lashing out. Like he's lashing out at Sammy, like Sammy, a girl he's known. He mentioned in the last season finale, the Bat Mitzvah, that he's known Sammy since she was born. You wouldn't yell at a kid that you've known your whole life.
No, I mean, you shouldn't yell at kids.
You wouldn't tell them to shut the fuck up. While they're singing. That's pretty bad.
They're doing something like singing, like it's such an innocent, sweet thing.
And it is. Like, even though she's, she holds the notes somewhat, but with a bit of practice, she'd be right. But no, I mean, the point is, like, I think Larry, I think he's really missing Cheryl, and it's really hurting him. I think it's really eating him up.
I would agree.
Yeah, he's kind of like going through the 7 stages of grief, and he's probably at the anger stage right now.
Yeah,
probably anger to denial.
I think he's right in the midst of anger for sure.
Yes. So no, it's just very interesting. Like you mentioned that earlier in the episode, and I didn't think of that at all. But after us talking about the episode, I was like, he's starting, his depression's really like starting to come through now, which is quite sad. I mean, funny for us. I mean, there's lots of funny events that pop up, but it's one of those things where lots of things that Larry's done in this season. It's kind of like things that he's put on himself, whereas there's been other situations in the past where he's put things on himself, but he hasn't done it in like a malicious way. Like he hasn't lashed out at anyone, or maybe things happen that don't quite go his way. They're kind of out of his control sometimes as well.
Yeah,
but I feel like a lot of stuff that happens so far this season is on him.
Yeah, he's definitely the cause of most of his misery this season. I think we've like kind of loosely come up with the idea that maybe prior to Cheryl leaving him and before he got real mean, maybe half of his misfortune was just him, being blamed for something or being misunderstood or people assuming things that weren't true. And the other half were just him being thoughtless or careless or, very occasionally malicious. But I think the maliciousness and just the bitterness has just ramped right up, and the unfortunate, the being blamed for stuff that wasn't his fault or the unfortunate timing of things or whatever, is not really there anymore. I would agree 100%.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. Well, hopefully the Seinfeld reunion works out for him and he gets Cheryl back, or at least, they get their bond, connected together again somewhat, probably not like the old days, but a semblance of what they used to be, hopefully, because Larry's on a downward spiral here, I feel.
100%.
Anyway, still a good episode anyway. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for listening. That was Curbcast. Thank you very much for the support, your emails, your messages on socials, all that kind of stuff, your reviews on Apple and Spotify and all those sort of things. We do appreciate those. You can listen to this podcast on any of those podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, independent ones as well. And we really appreciate the support, and we're growing too. We're getting quite a few people, Stephen, who are listening to us for the first time, which is really good. We noticed that more people are jumping on board to Curbcast, so thank you for telling your friends and family about us. It means a lot.
Yeah, no, we have noticed an increase in our listener numbers in the last few weeks, and if you're one of those people, or if you're a return listener or whoever you are, whether you're a long time or first time listener, we thoroughly appreciate it. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll be back next week, as we will be halfway through season 7 already. Would you believe, Steve? Amazing! It's gone so quickly this season.
Yeah, what do they say? Time flies when you're having fun, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and we certainly are. My name's Ivan.
And I'm Stephen.
And we'll catch you next week for Denise Handicap. You take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. This podcast is part of Mishmash Media, an independent podcast network. Follow us on social media at Mishmash Media AU or support us on Patreon. All those links are in the show notes.